Chilly here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Moon Hour and Mercury Day. And Mercury is milliseconds away from the exact degree square with Uranus, but also conjunction with Black Moon Lilith. Luna is 29 degrees Leo. Sun is in the toxic 18 degrees of Sagittarius. But the midheaven is applying to Spica with Venus in the explosive 11 degree of Sag, ruling the midheaven. Neptune is direct at the end degree, 29 degree of Pisces. And I want to talk about something now. Those of you who have listened to me since water expands upon cooling, know I tend to political assassination prevention. What I am saying here is, okay, is very real, and it's also coming from a place of political assassination prevention. I got to tend to political assassination prevention when I saw that the solutions that were offered to domestic violence victims that were running for their lives were not suffice, and that sexual sovereignty made the welfare treat them better. Yes, the welfare that kidnaps children even. And so I thought, okay, also political assassination can benefit from sexual sovereignty. This is also why I asked the hard questions, even when it comes to survivors of ritual abuse. Very likely, to many degrees, one consider me one of them. And I said, wait a second. The only reason these politicians, lobbyists, I don't know, are susceptible to extortion is because they were tortured, so they're more susceptible to mind control. So what's important is the right to exit violence. That's a very big deal because they're all in it. Now, I want to talk about something because the reason that our governments are being extorted to have all these weird policies, a part of the rituals is that they were extorted to have policies against their own interest. So let's say politician was gay, would be extorted to talk about only two genders. A politician who wanted to live alone, extorted to reduce public housing even more. This is why sexual sovereignty, when I talk about that, I saw, oh my God, that thing. A lot of people saw it as a crisis. I said, wait a second. Let's have Aries thinking. Now I got Lilith in Aries. That's a great opportunity. It means that those that honor sexual sovereignty literally get the world. They'll have to honor the sovereigns in the world. There's no hierarchy with sexual sovereignty. Aries is squaring Capricorn. The only hierarchy is, see, if somebody needs to go climb a mountain, they're gonna need to learn from somebody that's been there, that's been up and down, and can explain them how to go up and go down in one piece. But for sovereignty, we actually don't need hierarchy. Even decentralized form of regime without sovereignty, okay? So I'm watching economic videos because I'm taking responsibility over my finances. So this is the Knickerbocker crisis, the bank run that sparked 1907. But they talk about United States, the coin financials. And one of the lines there is very interesting. They said, in panic, even guilt by association. So when we talk about decentralized form of regime, that guy, no, that guy, no, no, that guy, no, that guy, no, that. How do you all know each other? Now think extortion codes. See, when people are worried for the sexual sovereignty, the word for the I am, the will to live, the energy, it's not even business and real estate. It's only after they set the boundaries that they were like, oh my God, oh, they violated the sovereignty, not because I'm so sexy, but because they wanted the energy for their real estate. That's why it was everywhere, in business, in housing, in this, in that. This is also why sovereignty when it comes to freedom of religion. Why does freedom of religion matter? I mean, if a person lives their life, they're like, does it matter if you have, a cross that says Jesus or a moon that says, I don't know, whether Bolsheviks or Islam, I don't know, or a star of day, doesn't matter. You, you live your life. Benevolence is benevolence. If you say a prayer with good intent, it almost doesn't matter to which God.
Because of what?
Yes. Yes, bij mij gebruik ik gesproken. Thank you. This is how they get religious tolerance. Because if it actually mattered, they would be arguing about that. But what matters is they do those rituals. And then they ask the people to feed the egregore. Now, if I live a good life and sexual sovereignty honored and everything fine, I don't mind saying a prayer to Jesus here and there. Thank you, Archangel Michael. Thank you this, thank you that. Why not? But if they try to put on a problem and then to say pray to this, pray to that, that's not. And they probably got the God wrong too. It's not divinely aligned. It's not divinely aligned with love. They said that this person with traffic, they say, oh, this is whore, this is that. And they don't honor sexual sovereignty. You go by that religion, you will have bad sex all your life. Then you will say, oh, I'm so lonely, I'm so this. You pay for, then they steal your life energy. They were tortured and trafficked. What do you want? You believe that this person is whore and this person is no. It's religions that funds itself by human trafficking. Now, I'm going to talk about real estate, and it's going to be given political examples, and it's going to be very triggering. Okay, I'm half Dutch. Most who attended to political assassination prevention. Most was Netherlands affiliated. A little bit to the case of Trump. And I saw it's the big mess that everybody knows. I said, well, same thing for everyone, is sexual sovereignties. And very little in Israel. It was nearly impossible because, and by the way, later I would learn that Ehud Barak that they talked about was behind the demonstrations in Kaplan. I had no idea. The demonstrations were to return the kidnapped people. So I was there once or twice, and then I saw everybody talking against Bibi, and then I left. I cannot attend to political assassination prevention. I cannot be with all those things. I'm in favor of returning the kidnapped people, but not to assassin politically. When I know the topic is, sovereignty. If sexual sovereignty honored, there is sovereignty, and when you tend to such things, it's not about blue pill, red pill, attending to prevention of assassination of people that I wouldn't vote for, people that maybe I would vote for, but it doesn't matter when it comes to these topics. So, also in Israel, but in Netherlands, normally we had the governors, in fact, to not know the address of the people I tended to the political assassination prevention of, I had to skip Google. I had to intentionally skip that information. Now, in Netherlands, to be very honest, even our royal family, the problems with the expendable children and so on is a global problem. And they're going to have to tend to that globally. I'm not going to address it too much. It's something that cannot be in a regime that wants to sustain itself. Those things cannot be. And we are in French Revolution o'clock, so it's kind of important. People will not buy diplomacy when that's... but in Netherlands, even our royal family rides bicycles. Okay? The houses are not over the top. You know how you see that there are some rich people in northern Amsterdam, in northern Holland, Netherlands. The car that parks is a BMW. That's luxury. Other than that, all the houses look like they come from a museum or something. They're it's not over the top, but they're looking. It's like every picture you take in Netherlands is like a postcard, and that is true. But those days where everybody knows exactly what door each and every parliament member lives in, that can only be when people are too busy. I'm not gonna say coffee, because if you haven't been to Netherlands, you know, when I was homeless in Netherlands, somebody asked me, she wanted to help me what to buy, what to this. I said, we have food in the shelter, we have clothes in the shelter. As long as the shelter open, no problem. But the Dutch chocolate, that's one thing. And it was lockdown. I had to wait outside. I did not have the QR, and she bought me this cup of Dutch chocolate. That's the good, so at the pipe. So people are too busy having their Dutch chocolate. The round dry bread with the butter and the candies. Very healthy in Netherlands. Feeding peanut butter and chocolate to the birds outside, and then feeding the geese. It's not the same birds. That's in the trees, that's in the canal. Taking the doodle something for a walk. I know, the sausage dogs. There's the doodle something, and then there are the sausage dogs. If you're native, it's the sausage dog. And by the time they think about planning a global invasion, they're already snoring, watching Idioten op de race. Nobody cares. The government is cloned. Okay, fine. A Khazarian maf. Okay, the children going to school, coming back from school. As long as that is okay, and usually the house is public, the car is public. If you want to bribe a Dutch, give them more than 2 cookies. As long as those things are okay, nobody really minds. So, and even Amsterdam, the big city, is like a small country. It's like a village. It's a big city. It's like a village. In general, Dutchies are quite like villagers. But it's true. Everybody knows what door is. So, so when it comes to when people are too busy living their lives, even simple lives, nobody even pays, attention to the other things. Now, Netherlands is just one example. Remember that when they renovated the White House, it was illegal to park an RV anywhere, but it was legal to collide into the White House. It's, it's a simple calculation. Most people's housing doesn't contain anything much. If somebody comes to somebody, say, give me all you got. I say, well, to be very honest, I ain't got nothing. But if we both join up, here is a bank. Maybe we can get something. When everything's down, who can somebody smuggle? Eh? There's nobody has actually like land or something like that because the soil is toxic, the air is polluted. No, it's not like people are gonna need somebody to clean the house. And that's slavery. People that are homeless, they cannot actually do that. It's like you think, oh, they don't have a trust. They will do it. You want the most incompetent employee in the world, and then to have to pay them their medical bill when they get sick. Okay, I, I, I guess. When my grandfather escaped the ghetto, it was a woman that he stayed at, and he had typhus. Why was that woman able to smuggle him? Too sick to rape. When I was in shelter, they separated the women in one place and the men in another place. Men had harder conditions. Why? If they could be trusted not to rape, they would have the same conditions. If they could be trusted not to try to traffic women, they could sleep well. Now, what is true is that people return to the simple life. Yeah, when I was homeless, I didn't introduce myself with my degree and my education. Nobody gives a flying fuck about that. I was a homeless person that needed some help and I cannot work. I said, yes, there are things that I can do. I studied aromatherapy. I can be a holistic healing practitioner, but I need to get my papers by then. Yes, I need whatever was not provided in the shelter. Yeah, no, nobody cares. A study degree here, degree there. Who cares? When I turn into political assassination prevention, suddenly all of the things that I know, the body mind, the sexual sovereignty, how that relates, the type of occultism, all the things that I saw in the death threats, now it began to be important because I'm not just some person talking about that. I'm a person that both studied academically and saw the things in academia and saw the things with outside and discerned themselves from the type of astrologers or channelers or mediums that would work with MK often. Okay, now I'm somebody. Now what I say has a meaning. But when I was in homeless, what can I buy? Dutch chocolate. Also for me, my needs was vodka is not a mansion in Monaco. What can, I don't know if I would be happy there. The Dutch chocolate, that I remember, that is something that is luxury. Now, why did I go to study in academia? Because the simple lives were not possible. I knew very well, for me, going to study in academia was an escape. Because I knew when somebody wants to do something with their life, they do something with their life. But when it came to filmmaking, which is what I loved back then, I had a difficult time speaking with people. I don't know why. It was kind of like to arrange with that person or with that person or to produce something. It was very challenging for me. If I needed to make a phone call, I thought that I would die. I don't know why. I didn't know about all the trafficking that's going on there. So I said, well, I find it difficult to get along in the workplaces. And everywhere, here they would do corruption, here they would do corruption. I get sick, I cannot do these things. So at first I thought I will kill myself, but I didn't find how. And then there was ability to get funding for school. So I said, okay, then at least I'll stay alive for that, because I like to study. That's it. That's it. And then after academia, I said, well, I learned aromatherapy. I learned something, tried to have uh, apprenticeship with someone that was teaching businesses how to run. She says it's like growing a baby. And I'm like, I'm child free. I don't know if I could care for babies. They tell me that growing a business is like growing a baby. I don't know how to do all these things. And then they wanted you to fit into that. I almost killed myself because I don't fit into these boxes of how people. And then I go to rehabilitation and people tell me you have to fit into these boxes. When I do run my own business, what, I have to kill myself again? So in those crisis times, it's also a time where people, for example, now they're planning a war with Iran again. So when there is a siren, people meet from all over, okay? Those that try to pull drugs down the corner, those those that just came back from the office, those that work in the supermarket, everybody, the person that has claustrophobia and the person that's afraid that the missile would go into a maze into their own corner in the Eckveld of the shelter where they stand outside and want to close the door on the people inside. Then there are the people that say, I don't go into the shelter. Want to make a big war and build ghetto cities. Nobody will be able to live there. Everybody will have post-trauma. They have agoraphobia and claustrophobia. Now, the people, agoraphobia and claustrophobia is one condition of PTSD. If they also have the PTSD, they can lift a truck. Don't make it a business, because they throw it. In COVID, when I was homeless and I came back, people asked me, weren't you afraid? I said there was no time to fear. Took me 3 years to begin to try to process what's happening. Then there's another war. Keep calm and abolish MK Ultra or MK Often. Now here is the big fatalistic mistake that people make. They think people don't know where the bunkers are. In times like this, like I said, people talk about guilt by association. Now people don't have short-term memory after the financial crisis. Definitely not after a war. They say, oh, people remember eventually how they were treated. Now, for me as a person that can broadcast a podcast, but when it comes to like day-to-day communication, it's very difficult. A lot of people think I'm a snobbish person. No, I can't. I'm too overwhelmed to process, and they don't know what's neurodivergent because they did not finish a degree in neuroscience to know what is neurodivergent. They're like, everybody makes their own assumption according to their own perception, and okay, well, and by the time you're so emotionally overwhelmed from being persecuted for the research, then either people think that you see yourself too much because you went to academia, or you're so emotionally overwhelmed that they think, oh, that person, what happened to them, what happened to that, when their children are not applying to the Kindertransporten and it's too late. Maybe when they cross over, they yeah, that was this person that told me. I remember they used to be okay. What happened? They ran into those people first, and they wanted to warn the rest of them. Okay, that's true. But they say that in the afterlife is love. Now, here is another thing that people don't always predict about crisis. It's also to do with security. Okay, if you people need the person that sits as the security of something is the loneliest person in the world. Their job conditions, if they get paid well, it's because they have to look the other way when a child is raped and tortured. If they don't get paid well, they're also having something to complain about. Most of the families are in feuds with most of the families. Soon enough, one family tried to get the child of another family to be sacrificed. So you understand those feuds are deep and intense. All in all, when the sirens are out, to be very honest, my first few days when I was homeless, I was not able to eat. The stress was so intense. People think people are going to be hungry for food. Some of them might not even be able to eat because they're so stressed. They're gonna be hungry for diapers. Yes, they're gonna be hungry for new underwears because they pooped because they couldn't control the. That, yes, they're hungry for being treated well and for communication because they're pretty lonely. Usually they go to work, this talks with that, this talks behind the back of that. That person just listens, but they listen to two people talk. Now, here's the thing. If you just have to listen to two people talk and say to a third party, what did these two people talk about? I'll give you $100. That lady is allergic to her husband because she's pregnant, and that lady wants to buy coffee. That is good brewed, and she. Okay, so that lady will travel all the way, all the earth, to buy a good coffee, and that lady is allergic to her husband because she's pregnant. If we solve that allergy and we solve that coffee problem, then we got coffee production here, and we got. Now, if that's all it is, there's no problem. Like, you want that information, okay? But could you take a picture of the no picture technology, risk myself, or what it looks like? Would you follow that? Follow what? Now imagine when people need to say, oh, I need to collect money from that and that person in a financial crisis. All the collectors are on strike. They ain't got nothing, and if they got something, they would kill themselves and their child because they're so afraid, and you want to put me there? They'll kill me they will not kill me as vengeance or not to protect themselves. They're like, okay, we decided to kill everybody. Now you come here, you collector, because they would torture you or organ trade you. So come with us, we are going to kill everybody. Whom are we killing? Ourselves. It's better than you'll have where the people sent you. Yes, this is true. And people are going to be loot. What are they going to be looting? The places where they're going to be looting are already raided. Everybody cried about Gen Z. They don't want to work, they don't want to work, they don't want to work. Now they're looking for a Gen Zer to suck up to. The Gen Zers been homeless. The Gen Zers, they know how to unalive themselves. Recording. You see, because some of the millennials were coming to work while the husband is providing. A generation above them, the husband is coming to work while the wife is providing. It's Pluto in Libra, it's equity. It's balance, power balance in relationships. The boomers got used to extortion calls, so when the people actually raid, they don't know what to do. They lived through the Soviet Union fall, yes, in America. They lived through the subprime, yes, in Israel. And if there are any Pluto Leos, nobody calls them hippies anymore. They're the Epstein generation. They didn't believe that my mother was not there with the kids. Like, she didn't get to the levels of selling her book that would necessitate that. So, so there's the big mystery. You see, if we were a successful family financially today, I would be worried. Everybody, she wrote a book. Everybody wanted to know, how come she knows? She thinks she's a human. Worries about oil and gas. Which oil giant funds which? Now, remember the story about the lady that was pregnant and allergic to her husband? It's a true story. I had a coworker that happened to her. Why was she allergic to her husband? Because the crisis of birthing, okay, pregnancy, makes everything very, very susceptible. How do you think women are going to be at war? And those that seem to suck up to the men, they're either intelligence or they were tortured and have handlers. How do you think that a man that went through a crisis is going to feel about anything regime-like? How do you think people the common people, when they hear the word nobility, now here's the thing, it's information. If you know that, and during the Arab Spring, okay, King of Morocco sustained where nearly all other regimes were falling. It was a gruesome falling. What happened? He had a solar farm, so there was energy sovereignty. He said, what do the people want? This is what Bashar al-Assad didn't do. Okay? So what do the people want? And Bashar al-Assad had it going for him. He had freedom of religion. Before the revolution, nobody would ask a person what religion are they, because he was a minority. But he used, with oppression, he also used rape. Not good. If he would save the women from being raped, I think everybody would convert to his type of Shia. No, seriously. Jupiter is the guru, the child, and the father of the child. If a woman runs into a man, he honors her sexual sovereignty, supports her in life. She's like, oh, it's interesting. What other things does he believe in? because he seems to be having something going for them. If I'm growing well with him, what more does he have? What more beliefs does he have? What more does he think? Now, if you think something I don't agree with, I say I may not agree with, but he treats me well, and I grow and I shine with him. Then either I don't understand either he thinks something I think is one thing is not, or he thinks something but in praxis is not acting like the thing that he thinks. If he's treating me well, is not out there raping people, then that's tolerance. Now the king of Morocco, he didn't go as far, but he said, what do the people want? Yeah, they want the social rights, more equality, more this, more that. Okay, he adjusted. And as a monarchy, he sustained. All the other regimes were collapsing all around. But this war, people want sovereignty. This is Aries. The outer planet is in Aries. Also, Uranus Aries. Okay, people wanted their own sovereignty, and it was a real estate issue. And there was so much rituals to try to make people religious, to try to this. They were not going for that. They wanted to live their own life, their own house, their own real estate, their own entrepreneurship. And that's the other thing that people don't take into account in time of crisis, is that it's something unusual. When there were the floods in United States, certain people that survived the floods were surprised by the community spirit of how people began to help one another. If there is community spirit. And there's some people that just find it exciting. Okay, I live in Israel, every time there would be missiles. Probably it's like that in Palestine as well, but every time there would be missiles, there would always be the couple of jerks with the camera that get on the roof to film the missiles. People expect people to be very stressed, but at first something interrupts with the routine. You meet new people. Now also the people that had everything put up together don't have anything put up together. And with Aries and Aquarius, what people are going to detain the most is anything that reminds them of hierarchy. It's simply because Pluto has left Capricorn and, and Capricorn is hierarchy. So Aquarius is opposing Leo. So this is going to be very tough 20 years for any Leo placements because Leo placements are the nobility. And name any name, what they do in those Epstein is not just the massage or the this, they torture infants and they rape them and they rape one another. And it's so terrible that by the time they get to the supposedly 15, 17 that gets an opportunity to work as a massage, that person has already been tortured. They're just dissociated.